A couple of your guys mentioned after the game last night that some of the Tampa players had gotten under their skin. Does that surprise you for a veteran team, and is it any kind of cause for concern that guys could be put off their game that way?
Well, it is a bit of a surprise considering how soon it happened in the game and how our guys played the first game. I think one of the strengths of our first game was the composure on our bench and throughout the game, and was noted. It was apparent in last game, starting very early in the first, and for a stretch after that, they getting the goal, and then a power play goal after that. We were, a little bit not on our game and a little bit distracted by people and other events going on the ice, and not focused on getting to our game. And it wasn't until the second that we were able to regain that back. And at that point in time, we're certainly fighting an uphill battle in the game. So we know right now that that'll be a factor for us going forward. Composure in the game, and that's the balance in a playoff series, being able to get teams into uncomfortable positions and getting them off their games by the way you play, or getting under their skin, or with your power play, or other factors. And Tampa Bay was able to do that to us, and they were able to capitalize on it with their power play and make it a factor in the game.
Dan, is there anything in terms of game situations that can be done to get Chris Letang back to the consistent level that he was playing at seemingly before the All-Star break?
In game situations,
Sorry. I mean, is taking him off some power play time or anything? I mean, is there anything you can do to sort of maybe lessen the load of him mentally or something? He doesn't seem like the same player right now. I mean, or off of game situations too. Like, what can be done about Chris Letang?
There's lots of things that have been done, can continue to be done, and help out with this game. And I thought in game one he was outstanding. Consistent level, obviously, in game 1 and 2, the consistency is not there, and it wasn't a strong game from Chris. But I know the one thing I know about Chris is he's gonna continue to work to get better at it. He has gotten, his improvement in his game, and his level of his game has increased dramatically over the years because of his diligent work. And he's aware he wasn't at his best last night, and a large part of our success in game 1 was because he was very, very good in that game, and that's something we need from him if we're going to go into Tampa Bay and think about winning a game in game 3.
Dan, we saw yesterday the Lightning closing the neutral zone in the third period. Is there any strategy, or what kind of strategy will you put on to beat that kind of strategy?
There is a couple things that we think we can do, and we've done a few of them to have success. And in that particular situation where they get a 3-goal lead, they put very little energy into the offensive side of the puck, or being aggressive, and clogged it up with their 1-3-1, and we have to come up with some better answers to getting through there and being able to get some pressure into the offensive zone with some speed, and being able to gain the puck, and that's something we'll have to address.
Dan, you watch Sidney in the press box during these games, and the focus he seems to have. He could be calling plays for the Steelers for all we see. Well, what has he been contributing up there? How does that help you and your staff, and how do you think it helps Sid as he moves forward?
I don't know how it helps Sid, but it's not a lot different than what you might normally be getting from Sid when it comes to seeing things on the ice, adding to our team and power play situations or whatever. He's a smart player, an intellectual player, and often has ideas. Some are founded in his brilliance on the ice and might not work for everybody else, but he's offering down some things in between periods about what they see from up there. He's also, during the game, a lot of his talk is in a positive way, or what we're doing well, or reiterating what we're trying to do, and or to certain players on the bench. And it's something he's added a lot in the 2 games, and on the headsets talking to Tony and conveying messages either to coaches or situations and or to players.
Dan, what have you liked most about the player, your fourth line and quote-unquote fourth line, and could we see more of them?
I think it's a good question, because they have probably been the best 2 games from them in some time. Really been factors in the game, adding energy, physicality. Specifically in game 1, they had a shift where they had 6 hits amongst them, and I think it was at the end of the second period in game 1. Last night again, they added some energy and some offensive zone presence, and then they got us on the board with the goal on the forecheck. Nice play coming out of D zone, the chip into the offensive zone by Rupp, and then going to the net with Asham and the goal by Adams. And they've been big factors for us. And I think last game wanted to use them more, but the penalty situation throughout the first and second periods prevented them from getting out and being a bigger factor for us.
Dan, you've since becoming an NHL coach, have been in all kind of situations heading into a game 3. When it's tied after 2 and you've had home ice advantage, how does that differ from some of the other situations you've been in, and what is the preparation like when you have a sort of a day of meetings and then a day of practice, the 2 days between?
Preparation-wise, I think there are certain aspects of game 2 and the situation we're in that we wanted to discuss today as a group. Understand, what Tampa Bay was able to do and what we did in the game. And tomorrow, there won't be a lot of talk about that, but I thought it was important that we get immediately into that discussion with the group today. We did see some video in some areas of the game that we need to focus on and get better at and continue to work well in. And tomorrow will be more of a practice day. Maybe we'll work on some of those things that we talked about. But, change of venues, playoff series take on a ride of emotions. And, they came back and answered in game 2 and tied the series 1-1. They are now going home for 2 home games, home ice advantage. And, we have to regather ourselves and get back and go in there and understand how important it is to play our very best game and get a win here in Tampa Bay. And change of venues and those emotions are important to manage, and they have to do the same thing. They have to do the same thing and get ready for game 3. And we now know we're going to have to win a game in Tampa Bay to bring this thing and make our home ice matter here for the series. So game 3 and game 4 will be pivotal, obviously, games, and we have that focus and understanding.
Dan, how do you feel in general about having 2 days between games in the playoffs? And does your feeling change any when you're coming off a game like game 2?
Well, I'm not a big fan of it. However, it's less of a factor when you are changing venues. You don't really want to. You want to kind of get in that flow of every other day and playing hockey games, but having a change of venue and a travel day, it feels less like a 2-day break than it would if it was at home. And there was a second facet to your question that I forgot.
Just if your feeling is any different when you're coming off a game like Game 2.
I think a little bit. I think having lost Game 2 and certainly some of the factors of that game, being able to come in today, have a discussion, go over some of the things and areas we need to be better and focus on as a group, get some input from the players and a real good understanding together what went wrong, what we didn't do well, and what we need to be better at. And then tomorrow we'll look to get back and get focused for Game 3 and going to Tampa.